Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by the man who's responsible for the injuries to Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams and Christian Pulisic. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Don't put that on me. People are going to come after us if you say that's me.
Somebody's got to be to blame, right? Somebody's got to be to blame.
I feel like various people in Germany and then somebody in New York. That's who I'm blaming.
So yes, I'm sure most people know this news already, right? But McKennie, Adams and Pulisic are out for the US friendlies against Colombia and Peru. It's not really Taylor's fault.
It is not. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, just in case.
Yes.
Marky Delgado has been called up and Fafa Picault has also been called up. So the US roster is now 23. It's one lighter than before. But that's your roster for the games against
one
Colombia.
lighter numerically, significantly lighter in terms of who we have to deploy in our starting 11.
A lot of the optimistic, youthful star wattage has been dimmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk more about that later on because right now, instead, we want to turn our attention to a team that is, I would say, just as near and dear to Daryl Grove's heart, maybe slightly more.
It's 50-50.
It's England.
It's 50-50. Yes, it's England, and even nearer and dearer to my heart, the UEFA Nations League. So, coming up this Friday...
How have you not been accused of being a paid shill for the UEFA Nations League yet?
I mean, you've done it a couple of times.
I feel like you've been on board from the beginning.
Do you know why? Because it turns out I was right.
Okay.
Obviously, we're going to talk about the US-Colombia game. We're going to cover that game Thursday night. Then Friday afternoon, US Eastern Time, 2:45 on ESPN2. It is...
8.
ESPN 8,
yeah, the Ocho.
ESPN 2, 2:45. Croatia, the home team, against England in the UEFA Nations League. Both England and Croatia lost to Spain in their first outings in the Nations League. So this is actually kind of a big game. There's points on the line, and it's a replay of the World Cup semi-final. So we're going to cover this on Friday. I thought we'd do a quick preview here before we get into USA-Colombia.
Can I give you my big preview for what I expect? I expect it to be quiet.
Quiet?
Yes.
Oh, why so?
Because this game is being played behind closed doors.
It is. So I actually can't remember the reason. I wish I'd researched that. I assume Croatia did something bad.
That sounds about right. Yes, but either way, Croatia, no fans will be allowed, which, Daryl Grove, you pointed out means we might get to hear some stuff.
Yeah, so I would say watch this one with the volume up.
Yep.
That's what we're going to do, because the good thing about there being no crowd is you'll be able to hear the players yelling to each other. You'll be able to hear the coaches yelling to their players, right? So you'll hear what Southgate's saying. You'll hear what all the England players are saying. We don't speak Croatian, so that's going to be a bit tougher. But we'll be able to hear how England players communicate in a game. As long as it's mic'd up correctly. I hope they don't mess this up.
I mean, there is a chance they don't mic it because there isn't crowd noise, but let's hope they do.
Yeah.
There's also a chance, I believe with closed doors, you're still allowed to have members of the FA in.
Of course,
that's allowed.
You just can't sell tickets for people to come and watch.
So then I do also hope that we get some mumbling and grumbling on mic from the various federations of Croatia and England.
Some mumbling and grumbling.
Waistcoats and whatnot.
So let's talk about the differences between the World Cup semi-final, which England lost to Croatia, and the teams that are going out. First of all, I would say one of the big similarities, it's still Gareth Southgate.
Why did you get quiet on that one?
Because I was trying to remember the name of the Croatia coach.
Okay.
It's still Gareth Southgate, and it's still Zlatko Dalic in charge of Croatia.
You got it.
The interesting thing to me is, do you remember this game, the semi-final? England played their 5-3-2, which had been the rock of solidity that got them to the semi-final. The
rock of solidity.
And Croatia destroyed the 5-3-2.
Is that similar to the rock of Gibraltar? Just slightly different?
We still own it, so yes. So if you remember this, what Croatia did is sent their fullbacks to join their wingers, double-teamed either side of England, switched the ball a lot, and those three central midfielders of England couldn't cover both sides. It was a massive sort of... a massive flaw in the tactical rock of England.
I mean, it is worth noting.
They found a hole in the rock.
It is worth noting that it's not as though you lost this game 4-0. You weren't destroyed, but it was certainly a problem that England struggled to deal with, and I think is a major reason why England weren't able to have as much of the ball and look as confident on the ball or with the ball as they did in other games.
Yes. So for me, watching this game with points on the line for the UEFA Nations League will be all about, have England found a way to solve that problem?
Yeah.
Have they found a way to address the three central midfielders getting dragged left and right and not being able to cover enough ground?
Do you feel like they have, or do you feel like it's going to be kind of more of the same, but maybe with a few little wrinkles in there?
Well, I've watched every England friendly and Nations League game since the World Cup, and it's been the same shape. It's been the exact same shape. There's been a little bit of Harry Kane dropping into midfield, but I don't think that's quite the solution. So I'm worried that the same thing's going to happen again. I hope Gareth Southgate is as smart as I think he is.
So then what would be a way to gauge whether or not it's happening again? Would it be if the fullbacks are just pinned back the whole game and we don't see much from whomever starts out wide for England getting forward? Or is it more so the positioning Croatia takes up will tell us if England are successfully combating that approach?
It'll be if the fullbacks are pinned back the whole time and don't have any help from the midfielders. And it'll be if you see the three central midfielders like almost like a cartoon running one side and then running over to the other side, but always being a little bit too late.
Yeah.
The big difference in this game is the midfield will be much changed, mostly because of injuries. So there's no Jesse Lingard, no Dele Alli, and no Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
I feel like that's the one that makes you saddest.
No Fabian Delph either. Yeah, I mean, RLC has not had a great start to this season.
Not so much, no. But Eric Dyer's still there. I know that makes you happy.
Hooray. The man stealing RLC's minutes, sort of, has been Ross Barkley.
Yep.
Been a surprise fourth choice in three central midfielders for Chelsea. He's gotten a lot of minutes and been kind of good whenever he's played. So maybe we see the rebirth of Ross Barkley, international footballer.
That's a big maybe. That certainly is. For Croatia, I believe it's still a lot of the big names that we're familiar with, Rakitic, Modric obviously included. I do not believe Brozovic is there.
No Brozovic. I think Brozovic is injured. I believe Mario Mandzukic has retired from international football. And I also believe the right back we were really impressed with, Vesalco, he is injured as well. So those are the three names that will be missing.
That's right. Sime.
Mandzukic is a big miss.
That's
right.
I mean, I bring up Brozovic. I mean, yes, he absolutely is, as is Versalco, because I don't think they had a very proven right back replacement.
I remember Vides shifting over to play temporary, like emergency right back.
So we may see that, but I feel like Brozovic is a big miss because do you remember how often we would see Brozovic kind of patrolling in between the defense and midfield? He did a lot of shuttling left and right to block off options to really limit what the opposition could do through the middle. Certainly, they can have somebody come in and try to do that same thing if they're playing the same system, but Brozovic was so good at it and so used to doing that I think everybody was used to him doing it for them. So maybe that is an area that could be exploited by England and Southgate.
Let's hope so. Right. And the men possibly doing the exploiting, this is the part I'm most excited about, is James Maddison, not that one, the Leicester City one. James Maddison,
Double D Maddison,
has his first senior England call-up. I am really up on James Maddison. He is a creative midfielder that can also he's not a luxury player, he's also part of a midfield. I think he, like as in he'll do the defensive work. I think he's perfect for that England midfield three. I think might even be an upgrade on the way we were playing before. So I'm really excited to see James Maddison. I would start him for England.
I was actually going to ask you that. So let's move away from Gareth Southgate for a second, but let's keep the 3-5-2, 5-4-1 situation that he's going to go with.
5-3-2.
There we go. What would you like to see? Who would you like to see start? What type of personnel? Let's start in goal. Who do you want to see in goal?
Okay, so Jordan Pickford.
Yep.
My usual goalkeeper.
And we had some concerns about some of his decision making and just that he never looked so confident back there when playing for England. Are there things that you would like to see from him? Like, would it just be one big stop? Would it just be sort of keeping that defense organized? Is there anything that would make you feel more confident, or do you feel pretty okay with Jordan Pickford as the number one?
Maybe coming and taking more crosses, or maybe that's not such a threat with Mandzukic there. But I'm really comfortable with him because he's so good with his feet compared to other English goalkeepers, past and present.
All right, well, there you go. Well, speaking of people good with their feet, I'm assuming you would like some ball-playing centre-backs in there?
Yeah, of course. My man, John Stones. John Stones has to start in the centre. Harry Maguire is in rare form for Leicester. I'd like him as part of the back three.
Are you going to keep it the same? Round it out?
Personally, I would, at this point, make Kyle Walker the right wing-back and get, say, Joe Gomez as the right centre-back, but I think it's going to be Kyle Walker starts this game as a centre-back.
But if we're going with the Daryl Grove choice, so you would have Joe Gomez with Kyle Walker on the right?
I think so, yeah.
All right, but instead we're probably going to see
Walker as a right centre-back and, Trent Alexander-Arnold or Kieran Trippier. It'd be Kieran Trippier.
Right.
In fact, I can guarantee it'll be Trippier.
Yeah,
Trippier
on the right.
You really want to go through the whole England lineup?
I do.
I didn't think England would get this much time.
Of course. Danny Rose on the left.
Hello to everybody who hasn't skipped ahead to the US game, by the way.
I feel like people care about England just well, maybe not just as much as the USA, but they care about you, Daryl, and they want you to get time to talk about your favorite team. Your half-favorite team.
Weirdly, I think I would start Ben Chilwell just because I love to roll the dice, and I've been really impressed with Ben Chilwell. And I like the idea of a Chilwell-Maguire left side. Got some, club form there. Get James Maddison in there as well. We've basically got the Leicester City Football Club on the field.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, so then that midfield whatever. Who would you have in there then?
The midfield three.
Yeah.
I would go Jordan Henderson.
So, but do you think it will still be a 3? Do you think it's going to be like more flattened out? Do you think it's going to be sort of like 2-1?
I'll be honest. I would be interested in seeing essentially a 3-4-3 in attack and a 5-4-1 defensively.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So do you want to? Should we go with that? Maybe I don't see it happening because Southgate hasn't experimented.
Hey, we're going with what you want, Daryl.
Okay. What I want is then, say, Harry Kane as the centre forward. Harry Kane in the centre. And then 2 attacking players to his right and left who are then capable of dropping back into a midfield 4.
Name some names.
How about if it's...
Do you want a reminder of who you got? Okay.
I do not. How about if to start with... I'm actually changing my mind on Maddison now. To start with, what if it is Raheem Sterling... No, yeah, Raheem Sterling and James Maddison.
As your attackers?
2 attackers who are like left and right, but then they drop back into central midfield afterwards. And then the 2 centre midfielders, who does that leave me?
I mean, I'm assuming you're going to want Jordan Henderson in there.
Yeah, and probably weirdly now it would be Eric Dyer.
Yeah.
Because then those 2 midfielders are just tasked with maybe holding the position a bit more. Maybe Dyer and Henderson next to each other. Who are my other options in central midfield?
Central midfield, Harry Winks, potentially. Could go in there for you. Nathaniel Chalobah, Mason Mount, potentially. But I feel like
Chalobah and Mount are both a risk because they've never played.
And I feel like Mason Mount has been doing a little bit more attacking for Derby, so maybe he's not going to be
Frank Lamparding.
Yeah, exactly. He's been Frank Lamparding for Frank Lampard.
Yeah. And then what I would like to see later on maybe is if England switch it up. Maybe Maddison or Sterling comes out and young Jadon Sancho gets his England debut away to Croatia.
All right.
That's what I'd like to see.
You have 8 uncapped players on this roster right now. I think several of them will stay that way because I think at least 2 of them are goalkeepers. So there you go. Unless, I don't know, maybe Bentinelli and... Who's the other one? Alex McCarthy?
Yeah.
They each get a half. That could work.
No, it's the Nations League. It's not for messing about. It's not for messing about. Then England, I think, on Monday are away to Spain. So that's an even bigger game. But basically, if we don't get a result away to Croatia, then it's a long downward slope we're looking at.
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. But I mean, I think as long as you finish second, you stay in the top flight, right?
Yes.
Top tier, rather.
At least a draw is necessary away to Croatia so that no one hits the panic button.
There we go.
No one has to lift up a copy of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
And what do you think is the sign? First of all, nicely done. Second of all, always carry your towel. Third of all, what would be the Gareth Southgate sign that he is panicking? Would the vest be slightly unbuttoned? Would the necktie be slightly undone? Would there be a necktie at all?
I don't know what the weather's like in October in Croatia, so that may be weather dependent. I would say messy hair would be the sign of panic for Southgate because he's normally quite well coiffed, right? Like his hair's in place.
That's well said.
If you see the hair out of place, then you start to worry about Gareth Southgate.
Speaking from experience, when I get stressed out, if I've done my hair, got it parted and stuff, I can always tell when I've had a stressful day when I get home and it's just all over the place because I've just been running hands through hair the entire time. So yeah, I think that's a good answer. Good answer, Daryl.
Are you ready to move on to the United States?
I suppose so.
Okay, so final reminder, the game is Croatia v England, Friday, 2:45 Eastern, and it's on ESPN2, so people will be able to watch it. We're going to do essentially a quick take, hot take review of that game, right? Pretty fast review. Basically, so we can go to the Richmond Folk Festival afterwards.
Yeah.
If we're being very honest with our listeners.
I always have to explain to people who aren't from Richmond or have never been to the Folk Festival that it's... Because you do get this idea of, so it's a bunch of people, sitting around playing banjo, and it's folk can mean anything. So I always look for the go-go acts, because go-go is my favorite.
Yeah, it really can mean anything, though, right? Because folk can mean whatever some national instrument is. You'll get... Maybe the best person at that instrument will come to Richmond and perform it. It's really high-level stuff.
Treble Funk were here a year ago, or 2 years ago, and it made my night happy.
There was some throat singing, I remember, from a couple of years ago.
You always get different stuff.
And there's always stuff that sounds weird. You're like, I don't want to see that. But then when you see it, you're like, oh, wow, that's incredible.
That's how it goes.
Anyway, today's show is sponsored by the Richmond Folk Festival.
Yeah, sure. If you're in Richmond or the surrounding environs, go see it.
I mean, that's a good recommendation.
Yeah. It's 8 stages or whatever. Yeah, you got music for 3 straight days. What more could you want?
Speaking of 8 stages, there seem to be 8 stages to the hiring of the new US men's national team manager.
I'll give it to you. It was a stretch, but I'll give it to you.
I thought it was pretty good. And today's show is sponsored by Greats, Brooklyn's first sneaker company. I'm wearing my Greats. I'm going to do my impressive limberness.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah. That both in terms of they're very pretty and shiny, and also that was some limberness by you.
Those are my Royale highs.
I have learned my lesson because I wore Greats to watch my niece play soccer, and I've now learned don't wear white shoes to a freshly cut soccer field.
I could have told you that.
Yeah. So my Greats are in limited use right now, but I wear them whenever I can because they're comfortable and quality, still holding together. I feel like a lot of my shoes tend to fall apart after 6 months.
Well, Well, I mean, this is segues very nicely into the real selling point of Greats is they genuinely are really well made. They are made in Italy by experts, and then they are then like sold via Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So this is a very Italian-American setup for great sneakers.
All right. And since it's an American company, we thought, what better thing to do than try to figure out if we were going to make a great shoe the permanent manager of the U.S. national team.
Yeah. So
what shoe should it be?
Apparently it's taking so long. Why not just give it to a shoe?
Yeah.
Right? And if you're going to give it to we need a great manager. So how about a great sneaker becomes the U.S. men's national team head coach?
Yes.
Right? So, Taylor, you looked through the...
I'm really resisting the urge to take some shots at some different people.
Greats.com. You took a look at the various shoes available. Which shoe did you choose to manage the U.S. men's national team?
I will answer your question, but first I have a question for you. Would you rather a shoe or Alan Pardew manage England?
A shoe.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling.
An anthropomorphized shoe.
I have gone for the U.S. national team. I've gone for...
A dancing shoe.
Perfect. A dancing shoe. I've gone for the Rosen perforated, and I'm going to do that one in coconut milk color. Yeah,
okay.
Not white, coconut milk.
And then the obvious question, why would that shoe be a good U.S. men's national team
I got you.
coach?
Well, first of all, it's their classic running. It's their take on a classic running shoe. So,
okay.
you want your shoe to be mobile, so it can cover the ground. It can get up out of its chair if it needs to, convey messages very easily.
Yeah.
Coconut milk color means it's enforcing new dietary trends, or embracing new dietary trends, rather.
Okay.
So, you got to try different stuff. It's not going to stink because it's perforated. It means it's breathable, and it's going to keep you cool in hot climates, like, say, places we would go for hexagonal qualifying.
Very nice.
There we are.
I have gone for the all-weather wool Royale High. So these are like high-top looking shoes, quite similar to the ones I'm wearing, but made with all-weather wool. It's Loro Piana wool, which apparently, I didn't know about this, is a very big deal. People in Loro Piana figured out, this is a place in Italy, figured out how to make a wool that was water-resistant, so that water just rolls off of the wool. So it's wool that doesn't soak up the water.
Yeah, I would say wool doesn't have the greatest reputation when it comes to summer heat, but that it's all weather implies that maybe it does this time around.
So this is a shoe that you need water to roll off you. You need things to roll off you if you're the US men's national team coach, right?
You do.
So all the criticism would roll off the all-weather wool Royale High.
And resistant means it can, temporarily deal with water. So if you got to walk through a puddle or two to get to your game, you'll be all right.
Exactly. You don't need to jump on anyone's back when you're down in Trinidad to be carried through a puddle. You can walk straight through it and then go on and win the game, and everything works out nice.
There we go. There we are. So if you wanted to try these shoes either as your national team manager or just to wear, you could do so.
If we're honest, they're designed to be worn on your feet, not to manage men's national teams.
I mean, I suppose. I suppose you're right. So we should probably just go that route.
We'll see what Ernie Stewart comes up with.
Yes.
But, we recommend these as shoes.
We do.
If you
recommend these as shoes.
If you go to greats.com,
that's outstanding.
Greats.com is the website. You can peruse the website. Worth noting, there is an entire women's section for Greats shoes as well.
That was going to be my first choice for a shoe because it feels like, the U.S. women's team tends to have a little bit more success. Let's get a women's shoe in there, see what happens.
That would make sense. Use the discount code TSS at Greats.com and you'll get 15% off the cost of your shoes. TSS for 15% off at Greats.com. Thank you to Greats.com for sponsoring today's show and potentially for providing the next US men's national team head coach.
Indeed. I very much appreciate that. Before we get to discussing USA Colombia, I did want to say we kind of made some jokes about the Trinidad game. It is a year on from that disaster.
Oh, really? I haven't looked at Twitter today.
I know, right? It's been super fun. It was a great idea to wake up and read Twitter. It didn't put me in a terrible mood at all for the first 3 hours of my day.
Yeah.
And I want to say, we're not really going to talk about that, right? Because you and Travis on this week's episode of the Top Drawer Soccer Show are going to be going down that road.
Yeah, we are going to look at... we know that things are not great.
Yeah.
Right? Because, for example, we still don't have a coach. But
we are going
to find 10 reasons that we've found for optimism in the year since Trinidad. 10 ways that things aren't all terrible, even though some things are still not great.
I cannot wait to hear Travis try to be positive for 5 straight things. It's going to be awesome.
He can do it. It. So if you want to hear about the 10 positive things that have happened in the last year for the US Soccer men's national team, subscribe to the Top Drawer Soccer Show. Find it in iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher or whichever one you prefer. Listen to the Top Drawer Soccer Show. It's kind of it's basically a lot like the Top Drawer Soccer Show, but focused on on the youths.
Yeah.
The Utes.
On the Utes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew we'd get there.
The what? The Utes. All right, USA-Colombia.
Okay, USA-Colombia. It is Thursday evening. 7:30 Eastern is listed as the kickoff time. I'm going to say it's going to end up closer to 8 o'clock.
I'm going to say it's 8:07.
Okay, we should start taking bets.
I'm sure somebody allows you to do that.
Let's do this Thursday. You and I will just have an honor bet.
All right, what are you saying?
7:30 kickoff. I am going to say that it actually kicks off at 7:50.
Oh, okay.
That's optimistic.
It is. I feel like they're going to be walking onto the field at 7:50. That's my guess. But we'll have to wait and see.
What's your kickoff time?
I said 8:07.
8:07. All right, then we'll see. I feel like we've got a good spread there.
I think we do. I think we do.
I feel like I'd take yours over mine.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they've learned from the past. Maybe it's going to be raining so much that they will just want to get this one underway.
Okay, well, let's talk about that first with this game. Because the conditions are definitely worth noting because this game is in Tampa. Hurricane Michael, I believe, is making landfall roundabout now. In the Florida Panhandle. So Tampa's not directly in the way of this hurricane, but it will be on the, as I understand it, it's going to be on the edges of a very, very big weather event, I guess. So at the very worst, this game gets cancelled.
Right? Are you practicing to be a meteorologist? That was pretty good.
I'm trying to make sure not to say anything that is like calling it something it's not.
Gotcha.
Right? At the very best, at the very worst, the game is cancelled. Yeah. Because loads of rain comes in or a storm comes in and it's just not safe to play this game. Right. I would say at the very least, it's going to be wet.
Yep.
Right? So assuming this game goes ahead, which I'm assuming it goes ahead, the field's going to be super soggy.
Yep.
Because there'll be a lot of rainfall that hits Tampa. Yeah?
Yeah, and
I just think that's worth taking into account in terms of what the conditions of this game will be.
And then I would say it's worth remembering my old coach's mantra of crap field, crap conditions, crap result.
Yeah, I feel like he used a different word, but yes.
Yeah, he did. You are correct. You are correct indeed. The question is, who walks away thinking that was a crap result? That's the big question, yeah.
So, I mean, in a weird way, this is interesting because it's the first game where, say, Michael Bradley's back and then he's getting to experience soggy conditions once again.
Yep.
So we've got that going on.
Yeah, it's a weird, interesting, strangely connected.
Yeah. So should we first talk about the situation with Colombia?
Sure.
Colombia also have an interim head coach.
They do.
And I like to think that Dave Sorokin wants to play only against other interim coaches.
That checks out.
To keep things fair.
It has been that way a few times, hasn't it, right?
Yeah. It's just a post-World Cup thing, right? Colombia's still searching for a coach. Their current coach, Arturo Reyes, was the U20 Colombia coach who is keeping the seat warm until the next man takes the job. But the squad he has brought to the United States, it looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good.
Should we talk about what Colombia has to offer?
We should. And we should say that although it is a new manager, it does feel like they're doing a lot of similar things to what they were doing under Peckerman. I think it's similar to the United States under Sorokin. They're not really changing too much. It's not like Sorokin is suddenly playing two at the back or some crazy formation.
I hope he does do that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see something similar to what we saw from Colombia in the World Cup.
Which was what, like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, basically?
Yeah, like, a 4-3-1-2, something like that. It's, four defenders, a goalkeeper, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
Probably two-ish attackers would be my guess, and then a whole bunch of talented midfielders.
So let's see what we can definitely put our finger on.
Sure.
I'm going to say Ospina in goal. Right? Probably David Ospina will play in goal. Yerry Mina is not on the roster. He's still not fully fit. Everton fans will know they haven't seen much or any of him on the field. Davison Sanchez, Spurs centre-back, will be playing. So already that's an interesting test for Bobby Wood or Josh Sargent or Andrea Novakovic or Tim Weah to go up against Davinson Sanchez and partner. I guess one of the Murillos.
That would be my guess. Yeah, one of the Murillos.
In midfield, you can expect probably James Rodriguez.
I would guess so.
Be afraid of James Rodriguez. I expect him to wear the number 10 shirt. I expect him to drift all over the place and be very difficult to keep track of. And assuming that Reyes keeps the same system as Peckerman did, the name of the game is often just get the ball to James Rodriguez. He is the playmaker. Everything runs through him.
I am more scared of James Rodriguez than I think I've ever been because with the situation at Bayern being as it is, and it feels like he is starting to get scapegoated a little bit. We talked about some of the comments he made about the manager, but just it feels like he has been wasteful on a few occasions. It seems like I've seen his teammates be slightly frustrated with him, visibly. And so this does feel like him going back into his comfort zone. We've seen him thrive with Colombia, and it does feel like maybe an opportunity for him to remind everybody that he is very, very good. He really didn't get that chance due to injury at the World Cup. So we might see a very motivated James, especially because he did not play their last round of friendlies.
Then my question for Colombia is, will Reyes go with two wingers, say Edwin Cardona on the left and Juan Cuadrado on the right? Like, they're both more traditional dribble-at-you type wingers, right? Or will he go with maybe pushing Rodriguez to a wing or pushing Quintero to a wing? Because basically Quintero is, I think of him as Junior James. He can do a lot of the same things. If you remember from the World Cup, when he replaced James, he had a lot of disguised passes. He seems really good at you think I'm passing it this way, but I'm actually doing a sneaky pass this way. I'd be really worried if we saw maybe Quintero and James in the same lineup.
I think we will. That's my guess. I think maybe we see Uribe out on the left, but I think if you're going to get them all in there, I think it is going to be Quintero on the left, Cuadrado on the right, James central as your kind of three attackers with Falcao and another striker up top.
So let's talk about Falcao.
Sure.
I think playing against Falcao is one of the tougher things that, say, if it's Matt Miazga and John Brooks, this is one of the tougher assignments you can get. I think I refer to Falcao during the World Cup as he's got all the what do you call it, the CONCACAFery of Blas Perez, but married to the striking instincts of a top level striker.
I mean, I would love to disagree. I would love to disagree with you and say but these guys just played against Neymar. He that's right there is going to be the most difficult task. In a lot of ways, Falcao's just as, if not more difficult, because I feel like Neymar can be streaky. He can have those moments. And also because he's so mobile, he's going to drift out wide and he's then going to come central, but then he's going to drift out wide again. Falcao is going to stay central. He's going to be physical. He's going to challenge you in the air, but he's going to cause problems on the ground. As you said, he can also get into it a little bit. Maybe
he's going to win free kicks, right? I guarantee there'll be at least 2 free kicks that Colombia win either just outside the area or, I hope this doesn't happen, but inside the area, where Falcao backs into a defender and finds a way to tangle himself up and go down. He's I'm not even saying that as a criticism, I'm saying that as that's a skill, and he's very good at it.
He's very good at that, and he's very good at getting under your skin if he wants to. And, I mean, with Matt Miazga, I feel like there is ample evidence to prove that he can be got at psychologically.
Interesting.
And he can kind of get into it a little bit, and maybe that distracts a bit.
Yeah, this is different to playing Diego Lainez on, his Mexico debut, I believe, or early in his career. This is a veteran of the dark arts in Radamel Falcao.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're looking,
that's now the matchup I'm most excited about.
I agree. I think that's the one that I want to keep my eye on.
Miazga and Falcao.
Yep. Yeah. I want to watch that. I want to see how James and Quintero, if they do get to play together, how they combine, because that was one where it felt like I think they got a few minutes, but James, as I said, was injured. Then it was kind of the Quintero show because you're right, he's mini James. So I want to see how they look when they combine on the field together.
Yep. One more thing on Falcao.
Sure.
So we mentioned all his free kick winning. He's also very, very good at sort of the fake to the near post, drift to the far post thing. It's going to be a big thing for me if crosses are coming in, especially if they're very nice crosses from, say, James and Quintero, to see can between them, Brooks and Miazga, keep track of Falcao. Don't let him get open for a header.
You probably shouldn't. It tends to end up in the back of the net if you let him get open for a header. That's my feeling. Well, let's talk about the U.S. then, shall we?
Yes, let's talk about the US. I think one way to phrase this is, we mentioned McKennie, Adams, Pulisic at the top of the show. Their absence, I think, takes away a lot of the excitement that a lot of people would have felt for this game. I think that's fair, right? Because me especially, I wanted to see how does it look when you have a roster that has McKennie and Adams and Michael Bradley. For example, do all of them start? How do they all communicate? Who is telling whom what to do? Who's the boss, right? I wanted to see all that. We have to push all that aside.
I wanted to see McKennie versus Bradley. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see who takes more of the vocal leadership role.
Yeah, I wanted to see. Well, I think I said I wanted to see McKennie squirting a water bottle in Michael Bradley's ear.
I feel like that doesn't end well for McKennie. But I take your point.
But that's not going to happen.
No.
Right? So we don't get to see that. That isn't what we get to see in this game. So what are the? Let's start with this, right? Before we pick lineups and that sort of stuff. What are the other reasons to be excited about this game?
I would say, I mean, with any game where you're missing key players, like you've just mentioned, you can flip that around and say that is a reason to be interested in this game, because it does feel like the three you've mentioned are sort of the heirs apparent when it comes to the three positions that they'll play in.
Yeah, the attorneys general.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. I think there's another one we were trying to figure out the other day that we should not mention on air.
Actually, someone had asked, is it coming together?
Yeah.
You talk about players having a coming together.
Yeah.
Basically like a 50-50 challenge or whatever. Is the plural of that coming togethers or comings together? And I think it's the latter.
I think Cummings together?
Yeah.
I think it is too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also could be wrong.
I'm glad we settled this. Either way, I do feel like whenever you have those big names absent, it's an opportunity for people who otherwise wouldn't get minutes or as many minutes to step up and show that they belong, if not in this, if not starting, then at least in the squad consistently.
Who are those people then? Because the weird thing is with McKennie and Adams out, it just guarantees that Michael Bradley's going to play, right?
Yeah, but I think Michael Bradley could go a long way towards reminding everybody that he's very good, or he could not.
So weirdly, I would position this game as this is the chance for the beginning of a Bradley redemption.
Yes.
Yeah?
I would say there's a chance, from what I have read and seen. I think people are slightly suspicious. Not suspicious, that's the wrong term. But more so, slightly concerned about the mobility and overall playing ability of Michael Bradley right now. Yeah. Toronto obviously eliminated from the playoffs. It has not been a good season.
All right, so let's assume that maybe it's going to be an impossible job for us to persuade people they should be excited to see Michael Bradley in a US shirt.
Sure.
What are other reasons to, if you're the sort of person who's just I want to see the kids play, what are the other reasons to be excited about this roster?
I would say Kellen Acosta is one of those ones who maybe wouldn't have gotten to start or wouldn't have gotten to start in a position he tends to play more comfortably.
Oh, that's true.
But because of the absences we've talked about, I think you're going to see Kellen Acosta.
Okay.
I think we would absolutely have seen Christian Pulisic start out on the right. Mm-hmm. So now the question is who replaces him out there? Who gets that start that otherwise would have gone to Christian Pulisic?
So here's the thing. The contenders for that, so other wingers, are Jonathan Ayman, 19-year-old. I think that's super exciting.
I would agree.
Kenny Saif, I think, is more exciting than people remember. Tim Weah moving up the depth chart. I think that's exciting. Also, Fafa Picault, I don't think he's going to start. I'll be surprised if he does. But Picault coming off the bench, if you've seen him for Philly this year, he's been like a rocket. So I think that could be fun to see a cameo from Fafa Picault.
Yeah.
I would argue because I feel like there is a US fandom right now that really just cares about play the kids. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Ayman's debut, I think, is the thing to get people excited for this game.
Yeah. I wouldn't disagree with that. Assuming he gets minutes, I don't know if he'll start. I personally don't think he will, but I think he'll get some minutes at least in this game. I think that's the reason to see that sort of... We keep saying next generation, and it's not that it's just like a different iteration because it's been talked about a lot, like the Scandinavian contingent.
Yeah.
He is the first to kind of come back.
No Sabi, no Gal.
Exactly.
In the squad, right?
But there is Jonathan Ayman.
Oh, you think if he does well, then that opens the door a little wider for Sabi and Gal?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Just because it's a good reminder of Scandinavian League. Mm-hmm. It's not he's competing there, so it's worth giving him time. And if he does well, then maybe it's worth giving other players competing their time as well.
Did you watch the Saracen press conference?
No.
Such as it was. It was 13 minutes on Periscope from US Soccer with not many journalists in attendance.
Was it more or less awkward than the Bruce Arena Periscope things that we would watch that looked like Dear Leader talking to us?
The big brother.
It's like a beige wall behind him.
To be fair, that may be just because of the size of our television.
I think it's because he was sat in front of a beige wall.
Yeah.
That didn't help.
So it was less awkward than that because he wasn't trying to be imposing. We've met Dave Saracen, right? He's actually a very nice man. Mm-hmm. So it had that vibe to it. Okay. He's been very friendly with the journalists in the room.
Avuncular is the word I would use.
So one of the things he said is that Jonathan Ayman and Fafa Picault looked nervous in the early days in camp because it's Picault's first time in there a while. It's Ayman's first ever time in the men's national team.
Did you say Picault's first time in a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So he was basically saying that those guys look nervous. That says to me that those guys probably aren't going to start. Yeah. And they might get 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. But there will be maybe the last 20, 30 minutes of this game where Jonathan Ayman, left winger, right foot, speedster, loves to dribble at people, has an eye for quick 1-2s, takes risks, which can be annoying maybe if you don't like him giving the ball away, but can be exciting if you like him running at people. That's a reason to be excited to watch this game.
Yeah. Because if it is those final few minutes and the US are chasing it or trying to pull something back, that does feel like one of those hey go try stuff substitutions that sort of drive me crazy at times, but if it's Jonathan Ayman and we're just trying stuff with an interim manager, why not?
Yeah, and then the other reason I would be excited is this is the thing I think maybe hasn't got enough attention. Kenny Saif. Kenny Saif. He's going to play on the left wing, I think, with his left foot, and he's going to put in some beautiful crosses and some nice surprise turns and moves.
Okay.
The more I see of Kenny Saif, I think we really missed out when he got injured before the Gold Cup. He should have been a big part of the US men's national team, and this is delayed gratification from more than a year ago when we thought he was going to be part of the US senior setup.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I think if he had a strong Gold Cup and hadn't gotten hurt, we continue to see him in qualifying because they needed more attacking presence out wide. I think that would have been Kenny Saif. So to see him, I think he's probably going to start. That's my guess. That makes me excited to watch this game just to see him once again representing the US.
He really has a lot to offer, right? He's played left wing back sort of for Anderlecht is where he's at, and he's got defensive hustle. He'll chase people down. He's not easy to go past, and he really does have some moves, and he has a beautiful curving cross. So I think he's got the type of game that's going to go well at international level. So I'm really excited to see him start.
So thus far, I don't believe he's been involved in any of the investigations and arrests in Belgium as of today. So let's hope
What?
There was a whole series of sweeping arrests relating to match fixing in Belgium, and I believe every club that has an American on it was involved, or at least was being investigated. I don't think it was any Americans involved.
No one pointed fingers at Ethan Horvath.
No, right? I don't think so. Although he hasn't been playing. No.
Because there were some highlights that look pretty bad.
Oh boy. I'm
100% joking, by the way. Please, US Soccer Legal Team, do not come after me.
Yeah, that would be ideal if you weren't arrested. Let's move on to maybe happier things. And I'm going to say I've been trying to work up a good acronym for it. I can't. I'm just going to go MBS. Miazga Brooks Stefan.
Miazga Brooks Stefan.
Yes, I'm excited.
This is a reason you're
that.
excited for it.
Yes.
Why? Because it's that new core?
Yeah, it's the new core. And I think we saw what they can do in the last round of friendlies, and I'm looking forward to seeing them continue to kind of build that relationship. We talked about how threatening and difficult Radama Falcao can be to defend. So to see what these two do to shut him down, and how Zach Steffen organizes that defense to keep them, stepping to James Rodriguez so he doesn't have time to move the ball or get open shots. Same thing for Quintero, same thing for Cuadrado, who obviously can score himself. So I think those three are going to be integral in keeping the scoreline at a 0.
And then, so Brad Gazan's on the roster, right? But it seems to me that Stefan is still the number one. The reason that has me excited is that looks like the strongest trio of goalkeeper and 2 centre-backs in front of him going forward.
Yep.
So I would say that when World Cup qualifying starts, that could be the trio. When CONCACAF Nations League starts, September 2019, that could be the trio. When we play Gold Cup 2019, that could be the trio. So I enjoy watching that trio play together.
Until Stefan Fry comes in and takes the job.
I'm going to stop saying trio.
That's fine. You can say whatever you want.
What about you? I agree. Another reason to be excited for this game, Bobby Wood is back, baby. It's the in-form Bobby Wood, right? With an assist last week, 2 goals this week. Bobby Wood is, at the very least, he's coming into camp feeling himself.
I would say that. I'm not going to rush to saying he's in and he's in the form of his life. But when you score 2 goals right before the international break, that's about as much of a confidence boost as you can get. So to see Bobby Wood with maybe just a little bit more confidence at club level coming back to the national team, and I do think that makes a difference. I do think that if you're in kind of a perilous position or you're in an uncertain position with your club and you're suddenly reporting back to the national team, just as with anything, if you're surrounded by people who are like, oh, great, you're starting and playing for your club. Oh, you're playing in the Champions League. Oh, you're doing that. Awesome. I'm occasionally getting minutes. This isn't great. And so maybe just to come back with that, I scored 2 goals, I got an assist, we're doing all right.
Yep.
New manager as well, that's making me feel a little bit better. So maybe we do see just a little bit more confidence, a little bit more swagger from Bobby Wood. And that's something that's been missing, I would say.
And we can assume that he starts, but then another reason to be sort of excited for this game is you've got the possible introduction of Josh Sargent, who we always love seeing in a US jersey, but to see him go up against someone like Davinson Sanchez, again, Josh Sargent is a guy who has not played that many games against adults, right? So to go up against a player like Sanchez is huge, right? Andrei Novakovic, also just a guy we haven't seen a lot of, so that's for me that's a reason to watch.
But those are both. I think you're right that maybe we don't see them start, but they're both very good impact substitutions. Yes, Sargent is fast and physical. We saw that against Bolivia. Novakovic is a big presence, but he's also good with the ball at his feet. So both of them, I think, could be impact subs if the US is chasing or trying to chase.
Here's my other one. Tim Weah.
Yep.
So the Pulisic absence, to me, makes it more likely that Tim Weah gets to start.
I would agree.
His performance against Mexico had us on the edge of our seat many times. Right? He looked like the US's brightest player who looked the most like he was willing and capable of making something happen.
Yep.
He was the guy when the tempo goes down a little bit. He's the guy that gets the ball, makes a 1-2 happen, gets things ticking. So I'm excited to see almost like Tim Weah step into that Pulisic type role. Not quite the same, but the role of this is our guy that's going to kick things up a gear.
Can you give him?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Can you give him his proper title of Timothy Weah, PB&J expert?
PB&J expert.
Yeah, that's we were watching that 9-minute behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't remember that
footage.
Part.
It was him. He took a peanut butter and jelly protein pack or whatever those things are, and he squirted that onto.
That's what that was.
And he squirted that onto a Cliff Bar. Yes,
I thought it was some weird thing that he'd found. Oh.
No, it was a thing he made, but I think it was Weston McKinney filming him do it. But
dietary expert.
Yeah, it was just how focused he was on creating a delicious pre-workout treat.
He's focused on creating.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. That's what you want. That's what you want from Timothy Weah.
Shall we get get to our lineup and tactics?
Sure.
Or have you got any more things that you're excited about in this game? Or else it was me talking a lot.
No, it was. I think it was both of us. I think we've done pretty much. We've done most of it. I'd say we've done like 80% of the lineup, given the conversations we've just had about our levels of enthusiasm.
All right. Oh, one guy I didn't mention, Anthony Robinson. Mm-hmm. So we saw him kind of get torched by Douglas Costa, right? So it will be interesting to see Robinson start at left back and go up against maybe someone like Cuadrado, who's, very capable of running past you. Yep. Or if it's creative midfielders out there, Rodriguez or Quintero, it'll be really exciting to see him try to deal with that as well. Yep. I think the point I'm driving at here is we love seeing the youngsters play for the US, but it's worth remembering that even though we all now think of Robinson as the first choice left back, he's still a youngster. Yeah. And there's still a lot to learn about him and a lot for him to learn at international soccer.
Absolutely.
So there's a reason to watch.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, if we're looking at what we think might happen, I think given the changes that were made in the Mexico game, I believe it was when McKennie got hurt there, and the switch from one sort of holding midfielder to more of a 4-2-3-1 and how much better the U.S. looked, I'm hoping they continue that, and that's sort of where I built my lineup.
Okay, well, before we get into the lineup, let's dig into this. This is my biggest hope for this game, is that we do not start in the 4-1-4-1.
Okay.
I want Dave Sarachan to have looked at the Brazil game, where Brazil just found too much space around the US, and the first 38 minutes of the Mexico game versus the final minutes of the game where we played the 4-2-3-1. I want Dave Sarachan to look at all that and say, okay, I've learned. We're not doing that again, especially against Colombia. Yeah. We're going to do 4-2-3-1 instead.
I would be all right with that.
I'll be very disappointed if we see the 4-1-4-1.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we'll be disappointed because I think if it were that, given what we've talked about, it probably means that one is Michael Bradley.
Yep.
I don't know if he can play that position, period, but then also play that position at international level against Colombia. Yep. At least right now. I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't know. Because we haven't been watching that much TFC, maybe I know that's kind of what he does for them to some extent. Sometimes he drops in as that third center back, so maybe he does that. But I still feel like he needs a partner in that midfield if he wants to be able to lock it down.
So we're going to go with the idea that both we want, and we want Dave Sarachan to want, and we hope Dave Sarachan wants, to start this game in a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there are other formations I would like to see the U.S. try, but I just don't think it's going to happen with Dave Sarachan, interim manager, given what he's done previously.
Fair. Okay, so 4-2-3-1. Stefan in goal, we assume. Matt Miazga, right centre-back. John Brooks, left centre-back. And we'll get to watch them defend against Falcao and Rodriguez and all that, and we'll get to see them play the ball out of the back. They break the lines as centre-backs. That is a thing I'm thrilled to see.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm going to guess we've got the exact same 11. I feel like I don't even need to be here. Do you just want to go? You just list them off for me?
I can guess one that's going to be different.
All right.
All right. So DeAndre Yedlin's going to be our right back. Your backup is probably Reggie Cannon. Yeah. Right? So DeAndre Yedlin's going to start at right back. We hope to see Reggie Cannon at some point. Anthony Robinson's going to start at left back. I don't know if we see Ben Sweat against Colombia. We may see him against Peru. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. This is where it gets weird. The 4-2-3-1. Essentially the double pivot, as people call it, essentially the two defensive midfielders. The reason I want them there is I want them to sit and hold because Colombia have all kinds of attacking talent. I don't want us to get stretched out.
Oh, I see what's happening. Okay.
I genuinely, it's going to make people mad. I want Michael Bradley next to Will Trapp. Michael Bradley and Will Trapp as two deep midfielders. And the mission is don't get dragged out, don't go charging forward, sit in front of the defence. Michael Bradley, Will Trapp sit next to each other.
Yeah.
It's because if you have either of them as the solo holding midfielder, I thought they don't cover enough ground, they don't win enough tackles, there's not enough defending going on. If you put them next to each other, it can be more of a spatial thing where they just cover the space between them. Like they could literally pass Rodriguez back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes if I don't talk, you just keep talking, and the more you talk, the more nervous you get about what you've just predicted. Was that one of those cases?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you got?
Well, see, the thing is, I would expect maybe to see Dave Sarachan start Michael Bradley. I think if you're going to call him back in, it makes sense to start him. And I don't know if I'm as excited or enthusiastic about a Will Trapp, Michael Bradley midfield because it feels like that's two very similar players. But as I said, if you're calling Michael Bradley in, it seems like you're probably going to give him minutes if you're Dave Sarachan. But it also is the case that Will Trapp has been starting in that spot and has been the captain for this team.
Yep.
So to drop him might be a little bit harsh. So you've suddenly talked me into maybe the two of them starting. It's not what I wanted. I would have preferred Bradley and Acosta.
So I think they make up for each other's weaknesses in terms of not doing enough, not being good enough defensively, not covering enough space. Like you almost balance it out by having two of them. You know what I mean? So it works in that way. And I would also have Kellyn Acosta. I would have Kellyn Acosta as my central attacking midfielder, which sounds nuts, but we're up against Colombia, who are very, very good. This is a US team that's going to have to do a lot of defending. So to me, then, Kellyn Acosta is a third central midfielder whose job will be to put pressure on the ball, but then he's also free to carry the ball forward and join the attack, right? Yeah. So he's obviously not a classic number 10, but I think it might just make sense for this game to give us lots of stability in the centre of midfield.
Yeah, that makes sense. I had it as a 4-2-3-1 with Bradley and Acosta and Julian Green ahead of them. Julian Green, excuse me.
Yeah.
Because that's what we have been seeing him do for the U.S., playing more centrally as that kind of creative attacker.
So when McKennie came out against Mexico, I believe, was it either Green came in or Green moved from the wing to that number 10 spot?
I believe that's it. Yeah.
That's when the U.S. started looking good. My feeling about that game is Julian Green was not brilliant. He did a lot of things that we didn't like. Like he took a lot of shots that we thought maybe shouldn't have shot in that case, right? Maybe some passes that were on that he didn't connect. Like, he's not my favourite in that spot. I think Dave Sarachan will think that Julian Green has earned his chance in that spot. So I think we might see Green start as the number 10. I prefer Kellyn Acosta.
So then do you think Kellyn Acosta drops to the bench?
I think you might be right that it might be Bradley and Acosta with Green ahead. It could be Bradley and Trapp with Green ahead. But I prefer my formulation of Bradley, Trapp, and Acosta ahead of them.
All right. So we'll see what happens there with those three. And then what about out wide on the left?
Out wide on the left, my guess, for all the reasons we talked about earlier, is it's going to be Kenny Saif.
Yep, that's what I've got.
Yeah, I know he's got recently back from injury, so there's a chance that in practice something happens and he's not ready to go for too many minutes. But I think Kenny Saif is absolutely the way to go. Gives you defensive stability in terms of the defensive effort he offers, and he'll offer genuinely threatening crosses. You want Bobby Wood having some more of those headers like he had for Hanover the weekend? Kenny Saif could be the man supplying those crosses.
Yeah, I think so. Or just linking up with Anthony Robinson because, as we said, Saif can play that left wing-back position too, so you could have that sort of interchange of runs down the left-hand side.
Here's one more thing on the tactical thing. I think having two holding midfielders, whether it's Bradley and Trapp, Bradley and Acosta, Trapp and Acosta, if they really are determined to stay deep, it gives you a little more license for fullbacks to get forward because just you have numbers behind the ball when your fullback gets forward. Sure. So I like that idea of then releasing Robinson to go and combine with Kenny Saif.
Okay. Yeah. Who are you debating with at this point?
Nothing. I'm more just making sure that people know that's one of the advantages of holding your midfielders deep is it gives you a foundation on which to build attacks in other places.
All right. Yeah. All right, that makes sense. So that's on the left side. Do you envision the same thing on the right? And if so, who with?
So we said Yedlin right back. My personal preference would be for Timothy Weah to start.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
I could see Sarachan being a little bit like, Jamed Rodriguez likes to drift left. Maybe we should play Kellyn Acosta as the right midfielder and offer some extra defending.
I think that's... I had Timothy Weah on the right as well. I think you've kind of taught me. I don't necessarily agree with you that I think it will work that well having Bradley and Trapp in the middle, but I think that might be what he ends up doing for the reasons I mentioned, specifically the captaincy thing. I think that is a big thing to suddenly not have Will Trapp start.
Yeah.
So I feel like there is a chance, and especially because that's what Kellyn Acosta did when he came in against Mexico. He stayed on that right-hand side, so maybe we see him start there as well. I had Timothy Weah, but if it's Kellyn Acosta, it's Kellyn Acosta.
So that means we could end up seeing, this feels very Sarachan now, Bradley and Trapp next to each other, holding midfielders, Julian Green as the number 10, and Kellyn Acosta as a right midfielder / right winger, but with a lot of defensive responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the more cautious approach, right?
And we're going to get 0 shots in the first half?
Maybe. I mean, honestly, saying out loud, I understand why Sarachan would do that because he doesn't want to get ripped apart by Colombia. Yeah. But I think I prefer to just let Tim Weah go, right? Get Tim Weah on that right wing, Kenny Saif on the other wing, and then Bobby Wood get some help when those guys either put crosses in or go and join him in the attack.
Yeah, and that's the final one. I think it'll be Bobby Wood up top to start.
It has to be, right? Yeah. Just seniority, form, all that stuff.
Seniority, form, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, he's just the better player at this point, right? As much as we are optimistic about the future of Josh Sargent, Bobby Wood is the more complete player right now.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. I think it's also the case that he's the one who Dave Sarachan has gone to previously. And so just any time that if you're preparing for a difficult opponent, as the United States are in Colombia, you want somebody who maybe knows what you worked on last time and kind of learned a little bit more of what the coach wanted. So they're automatically in a position where now you don't have to explain A, B, and C. You can jump right to D.
Speaking of A, B, and C that we've worked on before, if it is the 4-1-4-1, right, which I'm hoping it's not, my guess is you'll see Michael Bradley as the holder, and then the two central midfielders might be more like Kellyn Acosta and Marky Delgado.
Yeah.
Because those guys are more capable of pressuring up the field, which seems to be what he seems to want the two central midfielders like that to almost go ahead of the wingers and put pressure on the ball and join the striker. For me, it's never ever worked because it just leaves a massive gap between the two central midfielders and the deeper midfielder. But I could definitely see Saracen trying that. Bradley holding Acosta and Delgado ahead, ready to chase.
Yeah, so then I would say like a thing to watch for in this game is to look at what the United States is doing between those two, kind of the back four and the front 3, 4, 5, whatever it might be, to see if it is one or two players there. If it is the one, then I'll be interested to see what they're doing to sort of make sure that there are numbers back or numbers central to cover and help out with the kind of pressure and covering of space.
Is there anything else that you'll be looking out for? I feel like this is just wrapping it up, right? What are the things to look out for in this game? Apart from the kickoff time being somewhere between 7:50 and 8:07 p.m. Eastern.
I mean, it has been literally a year since we saw Michael Bradley represent the United States. I mean,
October 10th, 2017.
I will be curious to see how he looks. It's been a year. It's been a long time. I will be curious to see if he is as confident as he was maybe 2 years ago, or if we see more of the kind of ponderous dropping between the center backs, slowing it down, not necessarily trying to get involved in the attack as much, or maybe if we see him as, no, I want to reinvent myself, I want to go at people, I want to try stuff. Again, I mean, maybe we don't see him at all, maybe he doesn't start, but just to see Michael Bradley back in a U.S. jersey and how he fits within this team.
One thing I think I would like to see differently now is Michael Bradley demanding the ball off of the centre-backs less. Now that we have John Brooks and Matt Miazga who can play the ball forward, I would like Bradley to not be just taking short balls from them and cutting them out of the whole process.
Yeah, I would amend that to or I personally would change that to just I don't care if he's demanding it off the center backs if he's demanding it from 25 yards away.
Yes.
If he's dropping between them and then being like, give it to me from 4 yards away, then I'm not as pumped.
So even in that 4-2-3-1, I would like to see just Bradley and Trapp a little higher up the field so that if Miazga, for example, passes to Bradley, I need there to be at least a striker who is getting beaten by that pass. So someone is taken out of the play so that it's not just then Bradley receiving the ball with all of Colombia in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Because again, as we've talked about many times, if you have that center back drop between, or the central midfielder drop between the two center backs, it means that you are naturally pulling everybody else back to try to link up the play. And it almost always means that Bobby Wood is even more isolated as a result because he's going to be trying to stretch the defense. So I think if you start to see that, it's going to mean the United States trying to build from the back a lot more and maybe not having those John Brooks, Matt Miazga splitting 2 attackers or 3 attackers and playing the ball towards midfield, and suddenly you've created an attack where maybe you wouldn't have in the past.
Final thing we haven't talked about is the Colombia trap, the Colombia pressing trap.
Yep.
Remember, we've talked about this a lot. I'm going to assume that it's very similar under Reyes to how it was under Peckerman. What they will do is if the US has the ball, they will drop, Colombia will drop a little bit, and then they'll almost be like, I don't know what the trigger is, but there's like a surprise, everybody press, and then suddenly
I think it's
Colombia
a distance thing. I think it's within 10 to 15 yards of midfield is what I believe it was in the past.
As the US approaches 10 to 15 yards of midfield with the ball, suddenly Colombia will be on them. Do you expect the US to be able to handle that, or do you think the US is going to be playing a lot of long balls or a lot of panicky balls and getting tackled?
I mean, they struggled in the Copa America. They struggled at Olympic qualifying level against that sort of system from Colombia. So I mean, I don't know. They haven't dealt with it very well in the past. We'll see how they deal with it tomorrow night if it's something we see from Colombia.
Do you expect the US to have much of the ball?
No.
I don't either, weirdly, but it's going to be what we do with it when we have it, I guess, is the important thing.
I'll put it this way. I certainly don't expect him to have the majority of possession.
Yeah.
Unless Colombia go up 4-0 and then sit back. But I don't think they will. I think we'll see a defensive game from the United States that people will probably be complaining about at halftime on Twitter because I don't expect many scoring opportunities in the first half. I'm not sure that's what the United States will be trying to do. My guess is they'll be trying to weather the storm, make sure they're, not literally, but figuratively, weather the storm and sort of make sure that they finish out the half in a strong position where they have kind of dealt with a lot of the obstacles that the challenges Colombia will be throwing at them, and then they can kind of adjust to get more attacks in the second half. I think
you're right. I think that's why we'll see Eamon in the second half, and then if say Acosta does start as that right mid, maybe we see Tim Weah in the second half when Saracen just loosens things up a little bit, or is chasing an equaliser.
Yeah,
that's a pessimistic way to end, but Colombia are very good.
I would say it's a realistic way to end the anniversary of the United States not qualifying. It feels like a fitting atmosphere.
So it's no longer the recent unpleasantness, right? Because it's been a year. It's now just the unpleasantness. of October 2017.
I feel like I'm going to keep it as recent unpleasantness until it's not, until we qualify for another one.
Yeah. 2022
because the unpleasantness could just be so general. It's like, I don't know, there's lots of unpleasantness.
There sure is. There sure is. All right, so USA Colombia hopefully will be very pleasant. It's 7:30 Eastern listed kickoff time. Check on Twitter with Henry Bushnell and Andrew Das, because those guys always figure out the correct kickoff time and share it. Fox Sports 1 is where it will be televised. Total Soccer Show is where you will get your podcast review that evening.
There we are.
Other podcasts are available, but we know we will have ours Thursday night.
We sure will.
Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow after the game.